Welcome, welcome, women. Welcome to the Empowered Woman podcast, celebrating courageous women who turn struggles into success. I'm your host, Ananda, and for the last 20 years, as a certified life coach and healing arts professional, I've supported women to live a life of passion, power, and purpose so they can experience more love, joy, and success. If you're ready to ignite your life, please subscribe to the Empowered Woman. Become a part of our community where excuses hold no power, resilience reigns, transformation happens, authentic power is created, and women lift each other up higher and higher. Today's guest is a dear friend. I absolutely adore this woman. Kaila Rose is the founder of the Sacred Sovereign Womanly Arts. She is a transformational embodiment guide for women, a thought leader, nervous system and women's health educator, crystalline sound and breathwork facilitator, women's advocate, feminine arts guide, and more. It's her mission to be a guide for women and all beings to remember their unique genius, light, and power. Helping women move from fear to freedom as their default state. I love that statement. Her biggest love is to see women remembering their unlimited nature and sharing their radiance and wisdom with the world. Ooh, so juicy. So I can't wait to listen to your beautiful story. And I love, love, love how you can drop into your heart so deeply and have and hold that loving space for people. You're so strong in that way. And so I hope that I can be that container for you today to just really allow yourself to share that beautiful story of struggle to what I'm calling success. You know, we know that success means many things, that whatever that means for you, please do share with us.
Thank you so much, Nicole. Thank you for having me. And I feel so honored to be able to share my story. I feel like it's not just, healing for the listeners, right? It's deeply healing for me to share what I like to call kind of like my alchemization process or journey of really coming from deep fear to freedom. And yeah, every time I get to share on a podcast or with a group of women or on a radio show or wherever I'm at, it's like another layer of me is like just yeah, that wisdom that has been obtained is being in service for other people to believe in themselves and have faith. So I love, 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 love sharing my story and sharing the threads of consciousness that I've obtained through my journey.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you
you're
for
so
having me.
welcome.
Yeah. So yeah, let me dive right into that story.
Please, please, please share.
It's yeah, it's like I'm always like where do I begin, you know?
Right? Yeah.
Um so yeah, 5 years ago, what really led me to my story of what'd you call it? Fear to success or
Yeah, like
yeah,
struggle to
struggle
success.
to success. Yeah,
I
to
had
success.
trauma to triumph. I had obstacle to opportunity. You know, I had all these awesome phrases like pain to purpose. Like it's like really,
Yeah.
it is that alchemy that you're talking about, that transformational hero's journey, you know, Shiro's journey, as I'd like to call it.
Mhm. Absolutely. Yeah, so mine started about 5 years ago. Prior to this happening that I'm going to share in a moment, I've always been just a deep feeler, highly sensitive, open individual, so to speak. But through conditioning and, my childhood and programming and society, right? The layers just get stacked on. And I ended up, as we most all of us do, go into the forgetting is what I call it, or the not remembering. And so I always have this joke, it's a blessing and a curse that this happened to me. But 5 years ago, I had a Nexplanon birth control bar break in my arm upon insert. So it flooded about 5 years, or what is it, 4.5 years worth of synthetic hormones into my system all at once.
Wow.
And here's the little niche here. No one knew it was broken. So they put it in. And all of a sudden, I go from this lively 20-year-old, I'm a manager at a Dutch Brothers coffee, and so much energy and vitality. And I'd never had anxiety in my life, depression, really anything. I was just this college kid, right? Doing my thing. And I will add, though, I wasn't living the most pure path, I guess I'll say. I was partying heavily. I was in an abusive relationship, toxic. And I wasn't connected to God or source, or I was, but I wasn't I wasn't aware of really who I was. So anyways, this broke in my system, and all of a sudden I just start losing my shit. I don't know if I'm
Wow.
allowed to cuss
Yeah, you
on
can
here,
say
but
that. Yeah. I get
um
that. Wow. Yeah.
yeah, I had all of a sudden started having just losing so much weight, and severe anxiety out of nowhere. I started shaking. I had a twitch
Tremors.
in my arm, and I lost drastic amount of weight. I was like 100 pounds, and I'm
Mm.
and I'm 5'7". My healthy weight's 155, and I started going into um a bit of a psychotic break. I had psychosis
Wow.
for about a year. And I think what made it worse too was I didn't know what was wrong with me. No one knew what was wrong with me. No one knew it was broken in my arm. Just out of nowhere, I'm just, like deeply, deeply ill, deeply ill. And yeah, so basically 3 months after that initial break, and I'm pretty much starting to become bedridden, losing my job, like having to sell my stuff, like just my whole world's crumbling. um 3 months into that, I got this ping of it's your birth control. There's something going on here. So my parents didn't know what to do, my family didn't know what to do, and I didn't share this part, but while all this physical stuff was happening,
Yeah.
I the only way I can describe it is I blasted kind of open to the ethers as well. So it was like this huge, like spiritual awakening, and this, feeling like I was gonna die, honestly.
Wow. Yeah.
And so yeah, I had, full on like voices in my head, and but I realized also now, where I'm standing at now, that it actually was kind of, which is a whole nother conversation which we can have in a little bit, around mental health and psychosis and what it actually really is for a
Mhm.
lot of people. But basically, I was seeing everything in my subconscious, everything that was going on, and it was just like, it was basically like ping, and all of this, subconscious, and trauma and what I call the Akashic record got blasted open for me.
Mm-hmm.
I was having my grandmother and different beings come visit me, which I actually, when I was a little girl, had already seen spirits and different things, but I shut that down through
Yeah.
conditioning.
Yeah.
And so, anyways, it was like the physical, right, falling apart. And now I'm blasted open into really like seeing the unseen,
Right.
and hearing. I've never been a visual person, but it was hearing for
Uh-huh.
me, the unseen.
Good.
And so, yeah, 3 months into that journey, I was getting the download that you need to go check out your birth control. This is the problem. And it's like my family wasn't educated on birth control at that time. I didn't have friends that were educated on, like fertility awareness method or the
Yeah.
troubles of birth control.
Right. Yeah.
Um, but so I went to the doctor, and the first doctor I went to took it out and said nothing was wrong. And so they sent me on my way, and I just continued to deeply suffer, like lost my whole life, just thought I was going batshit crazy.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, my body was basically falling apart. My nervous system was falling apart. It was and how my nervous system was falling apart was from all that overload of the synthetic hormones. My brain chemistry was
Yeah.
out of balance, and it had me in constant fight or flight for about a year.
Mm. It's
Constant.
interesting. I have a client right now who's struggling with withdrawals coming off of medications that she was put on from her doctor. And
Yep.
the symptoms that you're giving me are very similar to what she experienced with the tremors and the twitching and the
Yep. That's
discomfort,
all
not
nervous
being able to
system.
eat, all of that. So
Yep.
that's what we're working on is her nervous system as well.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, the doctor sent me on my way, and I just didn't know what to do at this point. I just basically, I was so deeply scared,
Yeah.
and so much fear and confusion. And um, I went, I went back to another doctor because I got another ping that it's your birth control, and they didn't take it all the way out. And
Um,
sure enough, the next doctor visit, they found the other half, and sure enough, it was broken.
wow. Mm.
And so that's kind of like the first little nugget or peak of my journey. And, like all of us, we can't share all the ins and outs and layers of our journey, but this was what I call my initiation. This was my initiation
Mhm.
for healing, Akashic and actually ancestral work. A little backtrack is when I was a little girl, I used to communicate with my mom's mother, who actually had deep nervous system imbalances, psychosis,
Uh-huh.
and committed suicide.
Mm.
And I was being shown during this time that I'm doing the work that she couldn't do for her.
Makes so much sense. Yeah.
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 And so yeah, that was kind of the first little piece of it. And that doctor took it out, but most doctors in Western medicine do not know the nervous system. They don't know the vagus nerve.
Mhm.
And the option was they were going to put me on anti-anxiety,
Mhm. Mhm.
anti-psychotics, right,
Yeah.
depressant, and everything in me at 20 years old was like, no, I'm gonna be okay. I'm
Mhm.
gonna I'm gonna heal this. I'm gonna be guided, and I don't I don't care how long I suffer because I know that I'm being guided.
Mhm.
And
Isn't that so
really, oh, what did you say? I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm saying, isn't that so great that you really listened to your intuition and like created that sense of autonomy within you? Because I think that's a huge problem in our society where people don't explore their options. They don't even question that there are options. I think we learned that really deeply through COVID. That was like the big awakener in that era. Not that it's completely over, I would say. There's still a lot of nervous system resetting that needs to be done, but people started to question the people that they never questioned before. And not to make medical doctors wrong, because there's so many amazing things that can happen with Western medicine, but it really opened people's eyes to holistic healing, to holistic methodologies, to naturopaths, to know that there are other ways of approaching things, to even knowing that it's not just the physical body that we're healing, but what's all the stuff underneath it, the layers and layers of the work that we do, which is our nervous system and our emotions and our energy systems and all those subconscious thoughts, like all the mindset work. So I really appreciate everything that you said there about
Mhm.
that. And do you want to talk a little bit about like the vagus nerve and the nervous system, or anything, any thoughts about that for people?
Yeah. Yeah. I think I just want to complete what
Yes,
I was
please.
sharing,
Yeah,
and was just going to say that because I said no, there
yeah,
wasn't any fix pip. Even if I took the drugs,
yeah.
that would just have been a numbing agent. It wouldn't have gotten to the root. It wouldn't have gotten to my nervous system. It wouldn't got to the depletion of my adrenals, my adrenals, my I wouldn't have healed my brain chemistry. It would have put this kind of blanket over everything. And what it really taught me at 20 years old, because it took me about 3.5 years to heal this, it taught me the art of surrender. And it taught me deep faith and deep trust. And it taught me that we truly have a whole, what I call, queendom or kingdom of intelligence that is constantly working with us. And we have the power to, even though it blasted open for me, it doesn't have to happen like that for everyone, but we have this intelligence that helps us actually heal, transform, alchemize anything,
Ugh.
anything. And I just want to share with the listeners that whether you've had, because through this process, what actually happened is I started to develop severe PTSD. It
Mm.
something kicked on in my subconscious, right, or in my body, that now I can't trust anything. And um at the time I was even driving and I would have panic attacks because I would have them out of nowhere. So then once more of the synthetic drugs got out of my system, now I was having panic attacks out of nowhere.
Ugh.
And so that was the initial thing, but then much more trauma got developed through that. And then yeah, basically it's been a huge process to recondition the body to a new mind again. And yeah, so I guess the center of what I'm sharing is, no matter what you go through, no matter what you go through, there is this intelligence that is and is trying, and if you listen, it's wanting to bring you back into coherence. It's wanting to bring you back into balance. And
Mhm.
so a big part of my healing was the art of surrender and really listening to this intelligence and having faith that I'm not going to be broken for the rest of my life. I'm not going to deal with insomnia, panic attacks, all these different things for my whole life. These, neural pathways that were formed from that trauma. I'm not. And with the correct tools and education and information, like even what we're providing on this podcast today, and what I have to say is faith and surrender, those two things, which are intertwined with the frequency of trust, trust of your path, that spirit, God, source, whatever you call it, has things lined up perfectly in the stars for you. And whatever that you're going through or have gone through, it's because spirit knew you were strong enough to actually go through this threshold and create brilliance and wisdom and information for the world to heal.
Mm.
So I just wanted to ping that really quick.
I just love that so much. I saw this like flower of like something that you like a graphic or something that you would
Oh,
create that had
oh,
all your little petals of like those beautiful words on it. So
here
maybe
we go,
that's
little
something that you
flower
could put.
here.
Yes, those. It's like this unwinding, but I love those words and the art of surrender and the faith, right? And the
Yeah.
trust that pulled you through that experience. And I know, it's interesting when I use those words with people, oftentimes it's like I'll get this kind of blank stare, like, well, how do I develop trust? How do I do
Yeah.
that? How? And I'd love to know your thoughts. I have a few thoughts of my own
Ah.
around it and what I might say, but I want to hear because it's your story. How do you let
Mhm.
people anchor into that? Yeah.
Mm. How do you have faith? Yeah, I I really feel like it's not something, again, that we can just grab, right? We can't just grab faith. It's like we have to really source it inside
Yeah.
and actually almost like this beautiful, delicious cake that we're making, right? Like, I don't know why that came to my mind, but we have to be the one who's the creator of it. We have to create that beautiful, delicious cake, or right, that frequency, that intelligence for ourselves. And I guess, what I tell my clients and people I work with around these threads, or what I would tell a friend or you, right, or anyone, is it goes to two things for me. It's much bigger than me. That's why I use that word God, intelligence, source. There's something that we're a part of, but it's so much bigger than us.
Yeah.
And actually start to develop an intimate relationship with this intelligence. And how I've done that is I get quiet with this intelligence and start formulating dialogue with this intelligence of God or spirit or source. And also this frequency of faith, it actually takes deep grit. It takes grit. It takes like um this energy of so many layers, right? This parenting, I'm with you, Kaila. I'm not gonna let you down. We got this. And
Yeah.
then that frequency of something much bigger than you. So it's like you, your higher self, and this intelligence of God. And it's like this trinity, or this beautiful like co-creation with something that's much grander than the physical, much
Yeah.
grander than this 3D. And that's leading us and pushing us into this frequency of faith.
Yeah.
And in I just have to say one more thing. It's coming
Sure.
to me. After trauma too, faith can be lost. Faith can be lost, right? It's like I
Yeah.
don't trust life anymore.
Yeah.
I don't I don't trust people. Maybe you're abused, right? I don't trust men, many different layers. And it's under it's so much radical compassion for ourselves, for what we've gone through. And
Yeah.
then keep pulling on those threads of, life has got me. I trust life, I trust the intelligence, and I trust myself. And playing that is your default over and over and over again.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you were saying that, I was thinking, I love to give affirmations, just like you were saying. So it's like we're sitting, we're repeating these beautiful phrases. We're literally like I will have clients sit like they're even if they've never had an altar, I said create a space that's just for you.
Mm,
And this is a place where even if you've never meditated before, because I definitely have clients who've never meditated,
mhm,
but they want to connect. And so they might go outside and feel the wind on their face or the sun
mhm,
shining down, or just that they're small and there's this big world. And just imagine that somebody's holding them in that space. Like if it's Mother Earth, you can start
mhm,
there. And then when you go to your altar or this space, you kind of conjure that feeling of being, this small being in this big place. And that's where you start to like calm your nervous system and use your breath and
mhm,
create this ritual that you do this, every day. And by relaxing your nervous system, that's like that self-resourcing. We just get grounded step by step, slowly, you
mhm,
know, just slowly, step by step, every day, just making a little time for yourself. And then eventually it's like that self-love really kind of starts to inhabit the space, right? And then it's like, ooh, I feel comfortable in this space. There's energy in this space. You start to feel that energy in that
yeah,
space. It's why rituals and things are so important. It brings power to that place. And then that becomes like your place, your safe space. And then it's like growing it, like a little egg. I always think of like this little egg in a nest. It's like just growing it step by step. And right, it's just like, how do we do that? And then cultivate that inner resource. And God, it's so important to have that connection to source. I couldn't agree more because everything else is just separation, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
I love that analogy of the egg, or I even think of like a seed, right? And I think deep rooted faith or trust,
Mm.
it's a practice, like you said, and it takes um a showing up each and every day, really in the mundane, like how I I love even the altar and making that like a starting point. And then how do we even bring that throughout our day? Expand it into throughout our whole entire day. Because us humans, we love to compartmentalize too, right?
Yeah,
Like,
we do.
okay, I'm gonna have faith at my altar, or or when I'm out in nature for that specific time. But then are you having faith and trust when I don't know, just an example, if you're healing like your nervous system and you're having anxiety, for just an example, that
Mhm.
find your breath, and you're sourcing that trust and faith in the moment, or you're
Yeah.
with your partner and you're having an argument. It's like another example of staying awake to, okay, I'm not going to be reactive,
Right. I was
this
I was gonna
this
say my kid, same thing. Like if he's spinning out, where am I in that process?
right.
Am I with him along on the ride with the ego who's just like, wah, or can I be solid within myself and have those internal boundaries, like
Yeah.
really stay in my center. I love that.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it's a great weaving point to even just talk a little bit deeper about the nervous system and healing trauma.
Mm.
And I can hear listeners being like, okay, yeah, I resonate with that, right? And so
Mm.
this is great talking about faith and trust, but what are some resources or tools I can call upon, or how do I get started on the I feel so lost. I
Yeah.
remember in my journey, like I felt so lost for so long. Like my parents, they weren't educated. They had no clue. That's okay, and Western medicine, most of the world, I would say most of the world doesn't know the nervous system or trauma.
Mhm.
Even doctors, they're not deeply educated in the nervous system, or school teachers, they're not educated on the nervous system. Or I see this brilliance of, cuz there's so much trauma, and trauma in the world, and we're really in this point of time on the planet of great evolution where all of our poo poo is coming up, right? All of
Yeah,
our stuff. So this is why this work is so important, especially from right now, because we're all in this death and rebirth process for the earth,
yeah.
for the globe. And where was I going with that? I,
Well,
yeah.
yeah, so like being aware of your nervous system,
Yeah.
especially right now, is going to be really important because so many people are awakening. There is this global shift of consciousness,
Yeah.
and a lot of our nervous systems are stuck in survival mode and stress response. And in fact, it's actually applauded in our society to be hyperactive, overachieving, ambitious, drinking tons of coffee, blah, 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 not really sleeping. And then it's like, well, let's just give them a bunch of pills, and that's not working. Now everyone has insomnia. So yeah, I totally agree with you. How do we give the listeners some tools around like the nervous system or
Yeah.
healing their bodies? Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess speaking to specifically women, because I'm sure mostly women are going to be watching this,
Yeah.
why this is so important for us throughout our entire lives to even teach our daughters this, to be in, take care of our nervous system, through childbirth, postpartum, and menopause. Actually, if you know how to take care of your nervous system and how it interrelates to your cyclical nature and in your hormones, and when you stop bleeding, if you know this formula of really how to deeply take care of yourself, even menopause will be much smoother.
Mm.
um and I guess, you know, this is so, oh my gosh, like even opening this pocket, right? It's so, there's so many layers to this, but I guess a good starting point today of even just how to take care of your nervous system, or um yeah, how like what do you do, Nicole? What do you do, Kayla? Right? Like, just even me, I felt so lost like for so long. um and a few simple things I would tell people are this: what are you putting in your body, first and foremost? High frequency food. Are you hydrating yourself? You need to have sleep hygiene. Cheers.
Hmm. Or taking a sip of water because I was like, yeah, I need to hydrate right now.
Yeah, yeah. Sleep hygiene is so important. So when you're healing your nervous system, or just they're interconnected, trauma in general, you need to make sure you are taking care of your vessel. And I love that you brought in the coffee, the sleep, because this is where I start with people. What are you doing as a lifestyle?
Mm.
And I would say, if you're healing trauma and nervous system stuff, cut out caffeine completely. Make sure you are having a sleep regimen to get winded down each night. What are you putting in your body, and with water and food? And are you moving your body? Make sure you are moving your body. And like, let's just start there, right? Like, that's a great place to start. And most people, like, yeah, just, they want to go do the somatic experiencing, or even all the beautiful practices even that you and me facilitate, and all the different things, but the foundation of the house is cracked. They're not
Mm.
taking care of the physical aspect to really even support doing this deeper subconscious trauma rewiring work. So I always start there with people. What's
Yeah,
the lifestyle looking like?
that's so
And
good.
then, yeah. And then to stem off of that, some people need tools that they can grab now. Like, they can't go another day in life. They feel so much internal just boiling, right? And that's even the nervous system. When you just feel like you want to crawl out of your skin. You're a mama, you're a job, the list goes on and on and on. What can I grab to really to really start to support my system. And that's why I love the breath and somatics so,
Mhm.
so much.
Mhm.
Because I remember, this is an extreme case. It can be not as extreme as mine, but when I was healing panic attacks, for example, I would need something to grab in the moment when I
Mhm.
would be going into that, right?
Mhm.
Instead of, oh, shit, 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 and now you're just
Spiraling.
in the fight or flight for hours. And now you're holding so much fear in your body and your consciousness, you just feel crippled by life.
Mhm.
And two things that really were a game changer for me is learning different vagus nerve somatics and really having this deep intimate relationship with my breath.
Mhm.
And so I started, doing breath work, or just even more than breath work, healing these deep layers of the nervous system. It was just now this practice of, are you connected to your breath? How deep are you breathing? Is
Yeah.
it in your belly, or is it up here in the chest, right?
Yeah.
Is the breath coming all the way down the body, all the way down the nervous system? And then there are some things where the breath, I can't breathe right now, and so I would need to get my body in the parasympathetic state, and breath wasn't cutting it for me.
Mm.
And it was actually doing vagus nerve in body um somatics. So a couple of my favorite is a somatic called vooing, where you literally get on the ground, put your hands on the ground, and you moo, and it stimulates the vagus nerve,
Mm.
which that's a whole, I'll maybe share a little, but the vagus nerve is pretty much the epicenter of your nervous system. And you can work with this vagus nerve, to bring your system into the parasympathetic. So
Mhm.
you may be having, you know, what makes me even think of your client, the tremors, right? And that probably comes with anxiety. You can grab these different somatic tools when you're feeling your system really out of whack, and it's going to help your vagus nerve vibrate or send signals to calm your system down. And then you can grab your breath, and then you can
Absolutely.
start to breathe.
Oh, I love that. And I know that there's a lot of different exercises.
So many.
Um, the one that I've given her was where you lie down on your back and you turn your eyes to the left and you turn your eyes to the right and you do the yawning.
Yeah.
And so she's doing some of those. She's got some other ones too, but I understand because, like, when I think of what you said, and sometimes how maybe even the breath doesn't work, like, my child sometimes goes into these, like, he's got a thing about time and he'll panic if he thinks he's late somewhere, which I know is something that I embedded in his nervous system 5 years ago. I'll take full ownership of that. But now I'm like, we got to breathe, and he's just like, I'm not breathing, he's like really in like fight or flight. So like, so sometimes I'll just grab him and I'll squeeze him like, I got you. And then I always loved for myself just putting my hand on my heart. Like
Beautiful.
that felt easier for me also when I would go into panic states, and then just like really imagine my breath going down into my feet. But yeah, it's like, what are those quick things? So I appreciate that you brought up some of the movement also, because yeah, if we're in like even shaking exercises, some of
That's
that,
a great one.
I
Yeah,
love that
shaking,
too.
and there's so many, I don't think we have time to go down the list today, but even for the listeners, if you need something now, because I was in that space, I needed something now because I don't know how I can do today. I was not sure how I was going to get through today. Um, Look up somatics. They're all over YouTube, right? And start playing with those. And one thing about somatic tools is, as anything, one shoe doesn't fit all. And maybe the wooing really worked for my nervous system, but the shaking or the tapping or, um, you know, squeezing, like you mentioned, works for you. So just, it's really about getting a tool belt when you are healing trauma in your nervous system.
Mm.
And I'm going to bring it right back, and that frequency of faith, knowing that you will heal. And healing takes time. And sometimes it feels like you're taking 2 steps forward and then 1 step back, but
Mhm.
you are taking steps forward.
Yeah.
And when you're healing, especially complex PTSD, really severe stuff,
Yes.
um, just know that it may feel like you backtrack sometimes, but that's not the case. It's not the case. And why I use that word grit is it takes someone with deep grit, trust, faith, and surrender to know that I know God's spirit has great plans for me. And this too shall pass, even if it takes 5 years. Even
Right.
if it takes 5 years,
Yeah.
this too shall pass. And I have a purpose. I have a mission. I have reason for everything I've gone through.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna do it. It's
Mhm.
like I always say, like, we can't be too much in our feminine because we need that fire too.
Yeah.
And it's really this balance of like this masculine or this feminine of this surrendered state with this energy of the masculine, the chi, the shakti, the fire.
Mhm.
And a lot of people feel when they've gone through deeply traumatic stuff and their nervous system's just shocked, like, I have no more chi in me.
Mm.
And I totally, totally understand that. But deep down in your soul, you
Yeah.
do.
You
You
do,
do.
yeah. Right? You're thriving somewhere. You are,
So,
yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh my God, I love that. Thank you for tying that back to that and really embodying the teachings that you learned and teaching other people how to reset their nervous system and how to come back into that place of wholeness in their bodies and the freedom. I love that you said from fear to freedom originally,
Mhm.
because really it is about liberating ourselves, right? Like
Yeah.
this whole design is liberation and evolution and growth and expansion. And so it's like, how do we really overcome the fears? And you're doing that, and you're really sharing your radiance and how you've
Mhm.
come into the teachings and how you've stepped up into your purpose as a result of that experience. And
Mhm.
it's
Thank
so
you
beautiful.
so much.
Yeah, it's just so
Thank
beautiful. Oh,
And I'd love, just quickly, I know we're almost finishing up, because I'm also such I love all of this, and I love to talk about the evolutionary shift in our consciousness right now because
yeah,
it's massive. So
it's
I
ma
just want to bring in a quantum perspective too. For we shared some of this, right, physical real stuff, 3D stuff, but I want to just drop in with the quantum field and really what's even happening to our physical bodies right now. And
mm,
this might bring people some awareness too, is there is so much light entering the earth plane right now that it's actually a bit jarring for our nervous systems. So this is why, even if you don't feel like you have like an extreme like pace like I had, right, of these different layers, it's so important to take care of our nervous system right now so we can integrate this
mm,
light that is coming in. And we're really on this what I call like a voyage, um as humanity, to really shift our consciousness and come into deep balance, or back to that word, fear to freedom.
mm,
That's the mission we're all on right now,
mm,
is really recalibrating, crystallizing, reorganizing our systems, which hold the kosh of our ancestors, each other,
Mm,
Mother Earth, and so on, and really bringing in this whole recalibration,
mm.
um, to really enter a new way of being as humanity, and all of us, we're the ones who are walking first, fortunately or unfortunately.
We're the way shower trailblazers. Yeah. That's never easy because it's really
And
stepping
it's not,
fully into the unknown. It's
and
a
it's like,
big element of trust required for that, right? And faith.
yes. And that's also why you see this huge uprise of people searching for help, and trauma work and all these things. And it is because of, you know all these layers we talked about, and it's also because you're part of an evolutionary shift in consciousness right now. So yeah, it's exciting times here on earth right now.
It sure is. Ah, how exciting that we're a part of it, you know?
Oh, such a
Yeah.
blessing.
Is
Yeah.
such a blessing. It is such a blessing. Thanks for bringing it back. I love how you said bringing it back to the quantum, you know? That's really cool and it's so true. And if you are a person listening to this that is going through a spiritual awakening, you know, like in that
Mhm.
way, there's resources and tools and there are people out there. There's a lot of people out there right now supporting this, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
more than ever. Yeah. So I feel like these legions of light workers are just like, okay, you know, spreading their wings. Let's really hold the earth and all its people, all its sentient beings
Mhm.
and help each other out to rebalance the all of it. That's what the new earth I feel is too. It's like really
Mhm.
rebalancing the structures from how out of balance they became so that we're all held together, right? And like equality and union, not this like
Yes.
severe separation that we've been in.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing it back to that. I just heard somebody broke a glass in my kitchen. I'm like, somebody broke a glass in my kitchen.
Mic
Okay.
drop.
That's a wrap up for us.
Yeah.
So I can calm everybody's nervous system. That's great. Well, how do people contact you? I will have your links in the show notes if there's anything you want to express right now, or yeah.
Yeah. I'm kind of in this phase where I'm actually taking a break from one-on-one work. I worked with uh 200 women last year, and spirit, I've gotten very good at listening through my journey, just that it's time for a pause. And I'm actually starting to write a book right now, really like a guide for women.
Mm.
um, and it's a part of my title is From Fear to Freedom: The Alchemy of Fear to Freedom.
Ah,
And so you can find me if you're in Southern Oregon. I'm doing once a month offerings with my beautiful mother, collaboration offerings once a month. They're going to vary in what they are. And then you can always check out my website or follow me on the socials if you want to connect. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, it's so beautiful. And I'm testimony to the beautiful offerings that her and her mother offer. And you're just so exquisite in your offerings of breath work and sound, that those parts that I've actually witnessed and experienced. And I just honor both of you and the work that you're doing for women and how you hold that space. And talk about exquisite voices, people. They've got some beautiful, beautiful singing that goes with it that I know everybody just loves, you know. So we get to
Thank you.
imbibe in their beauty. So thank you for
Yeah.
offering those and all the circles
So
and women's work that you do. It's really beautiful. So I can't wait for your book. That's exciting. Yeah,
I'm
super.
excited. And it's really like a voyage. Like, I don't know all I know is spirit's like, just start writing and you're gonna go on a voyage. So I'm like,
Yep.
oh shoot,
Absolutely.
okay.
Yeah, let's do
Right,
it.
let's
Go on the
go.
roller coaster ride. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have fun with that. Yeah, there's it's so great. So
Yeah.
thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kayla. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciated this conversation and
If
learning to
there's
get to
time,
know
I would
you even
love
better.
to close it out with a prayer, if there's time.
Sure. The
Just I
pitter
love
patter of the feet
that
of my son is all
little
good. He'll handle it.
okay. Let me just I would love to just yeah, I love closing it out with affirmation or prayer, whatever you call it.
Yeah.
And I just want to invite the listeners to close your eyes just for a moment, and we can all just drop into our nervous systems together, maybe a hand on your heart, maybe on your womb, or 2 inches below your navel, or your arm. Hug yourself, and just want to ask for source, creator, mother, father, God, infinite intelligence to wash over the listeners and whoever's listening to this today, and know that they are so held, and know that they are so taken care of, and their journey is divinely designed. There's divine design to every moment of their human journey, and may they find the perfect tools and angels and beings, and resource this intelligence within themselves during their journey here. Know that they are unconditionally loved, and that all things are possible, and so it is.
And so it is. Ah, thank you, thank you, thank you for that beautiful prayer. I hope everybody really enjoyed that as much as I did. I can't wait to have you on again, have another conversation at some
I
point
love
for
it.
sure. So if you're ready to ignite your life, please subscribe to The Empowered Woman. We have such beautiful souls that have been on so far, and continue to do this work, and let us just breathe a deep breath in and close this out. Thank you, sister.
Thank you
Well
so much.
done. Beautiful. All right, let me